Times. It is day 1149 of the Trump administration. 235 days to go until the 2020 presidential election. We end a very difficult week on the verge of a new phase in the effort to stop the spread of coronavirus as President Trump declares the pandemic a national emergency and as the House reaches a deal with the White House on an economic relief package. Donald Trump made his declaration in a Rose Garden address, surrounded by multiple CEOs and senior administration officials. This marked the first time he'd spoken at length about the virus as a domestic crisis, as a public health crisis, as opposed to something beyond our borders that needed to be kept out. It also marked a change in tone from the Oval Office speech that he gave on Wednesday night.
I am officially declaring a national emergency. Two very big words. The action I am taking will open up access to up to $50 billion of very important and a large amount of money for states and territories or localities. In furtherance of the order, I'm urging every state to set up emergency operation centers effective immediately. We've been working very hard on this. We've made tremendous progress.
Wall Street rallied on the news of Trump's declaration, the Dow gaining nearly 2,000 points, almost 10%, wiping out most of yesterday's historic loss. And then less than a couple of hours after that, House Speaker Nancy Pelosi announced that she'd reached a deal with the Treasury Secretary Steve Mnuchin on a coronavirus response package to provide paid leave for workers, expand food aid, and widespread free testing for the illness. It does not include something that the president had been demanding, and that is a payroll tax cut. Tonight, Trump sent out this message, quote, "I fully support Families First Coronavirus Response Act. I encourage all Republicans and Democrats to come together and vote yes. Look forward to signing the final bill ASAP." Late tonight, the House leaders from both parties were in agreement about the importance of the legislation.
We could have passed our bill yesterday, just our own bill, which was a great bill, and is still a great bill because that's what we're passing today. But we thought it would be important to show the American people, to assure the American people that we are willing and able to work together to get a job done for them. So we thank our Republicans, those who will be supporting the bill. We appreciate the president joining us with his tweet.
Do you think Speaker Pelosi handled these negotiations well from her side?
Yeah, I think at the end of the day, yes. I give her credit. I give the administration credit. I give everybody involved. We have a better product today because we waited, we looked at it, and we worked together.
The number of coronavirus cases in the United States is now more than 2,000, with 50 deaths. The White House has been taking continued fire over the nation's slow rate of coronavirus testing. This morning, New York's first coronavirus drive-through testing center opened in New Rochelle, the Westchester County town with the nation's largest cluster of COVID-19 cases. At the White House, Trump touted efforts to expand such tests while also fielding questions about his role in the initial response to the outbreak.
We've been in discussions with pharmacies and retailers to make drive-through tests available. The goal is for individuals to be able to drive up and be swabbed without having to leave your car.
Dr. Fauci said earlier this week that the lag in testing was, in fact, a failing. Do you take responsibility for that?
Yeah, no, I don't take responsibility at all.
That was then followed by this question on Trump's decision to shrink the White House national security staff and get rid of an office to address global pandemics.
You said that you don't take responsibility, but you did disband the White House pandemic office, and the officials that were working in that office left this administration abruptly. So what responsibility do you take to that? And the officials that worked in that office said that the White House lost valuable time because that office wasn't disbanded. What do you make of that?
Well, I just think it's a nasty question. When you say me, I didn't do it. We have a group of people. I could ask perhaps my administration, but I could perhaps ask Tony about that because I don't know anything about it. I mean, you say we did that. I don't know anything about it.
Now, that would seem to contradict what Trump said nearly a month ago when he was asked about cuts to federal agencies that were tasked with responding to public health crises.
Some of the people we cut, they haven't been used for many, many years. And if we ever need them, we can get them very quickly. And rather than spending the money, and I'm a business person, I don't like having thousands of people around when you don't need them. When we need them, we can get them back very quickly.
Hopefully. Meanwhile, the Washington Post reports a second person who visited President Trump's private Mar-a-Lago estate last weekend has tested positive for coronavirus. The first to test positive was the press secretary to the Brazilian president, who was focused with Trump at Mar-a-Lago on Saturday. Today, Trump was asked about that interaction.
The person you were standing next to, whether you know who he is or not, tested positive for coronavirus. Dr. Fauci said this morning, if you stand next to somebody who tested positive, you should self-isolate and get a test. You say your White House doctor is telling you something different. Who should Americans listen to? And my second question is...
I think they have to listen to their doctors. And I think they shouldn't be jumping to get the test unless it's necessary. Somebody said there's a picture with somebody taking a picture with me, but I haven't seen it.
Well, doctors have said you might have it even if you don't have symptoms. Are you being selfish by not getting tested and potentially
Well, I didn't say I wasn't going to be tested.
Are you going to be?
Most likely, yeah. Most
When do
likely.
you think
Not for
that'll
that
happen?
reason, but because I think I will do it anyway.
Will you let us know
fairly
the
soon.
results?
We're working on that. We're working out a schedule.
All right, today, Miami Mayor Francis Suarez announced that he, too, has tested positive for COVID-19 after meeting with that same Brazilian delegation at Mar-a-Lago this weekend. Suarez is now currently quarantined at home. The coronavirus is affecting the political life of the nation in other ways as well. Louisiana is the first state to postpone its presidential primaries because of the coronavirus outbreak. It'll push back its presidential nominating contests to June 20th from the original date of April 4th. Election officials in Arizona, Illinois, and Ohio, all of which hold primaries this Tuesday, issued a statement today saying the polls will be open and they are taking precautions to protect voters. And in Wyoming, its Democratic Party canceled the in-person portion of its upcoming caucus. One universal sign that the virus has upended the daily life of the nation, the millions of kids who will be out of school as the week begins on Monday. We'll get to our leadoff discussion in just a moment, but first I'm joined from Capitol Hill by Congresswoman Kim Schreier, Democrat of Washington State, who is a pediatrician and a member of the House Education and Labor Committees. Congresswoman, thank you for being with us this evening.
Thank you, Ali. It's good to be here.
What is a number of things have developed today. First thing I want to ask you about is the president's declaration of an emergency, a national emergency with respect to this. Do you think the tone coming from the White House has changed to your satisfaction?
Well, first of all, let me just say that this was the first time I really got the impression that our president understood the gravity of the situation we're in, and I felt that he was moving us forward. I'm very happy that we have this now as a national emergency. Our state has needed this for a couple of weeks. It will open up resources so that we have money to help with testing, with people, with being able to even set up testing areas that are outside of hospitals. And it will relax some of the regulations that have really kind of tied our hands behind our backs.
All right, and then the other thing that's happened is where you are at Congress, where there has been agreement that Speaker Pelosi was working with the Treasury Secretary Mnuchin, which is interesting because they seem to have been having a parallel track while the president still wasn't coming to terms with this. But they came to an arrangement. It was then worked out with Republican leadership. That's a separate set of initiatives. Tell me how that is going to help Americans.
Well, this is so important. First, I just want to say it is really nice to see that we can come together, Democrats, Republicans, and our president, and get things done on behalf of the American people. This is so important. Diseases spread, and they spread quickly, and we're seeing that this one spreads even before people have symptoms. And so we're really asking extraordinary things from our citizens. We're asking people to stay home from work when they might normally not. We're asking them to quarantine for 14 days after exposure. We're asking them to have their children at home and closing schools. And if we're going to make those asks, we need to make sure that we give people the resources to do it, that we have extended sick leave, that we have paid family leave. And even that we make the testing free, which was my part of this bill. It is so important that there's really no barriers to doing the right thing to protect our communities.
Hey there, I'm Chris Hayes from MSNBC. Thanks for watching MSNBC on YouTube. If you want to keep up to date with the videos we're putting out, you can click subscribe just below me or click over on this list to see lots of other great videos.